Good evening and welcome back to my video series, Defining Virtuosity. I'm Odin Rathman, Professor of Violin at Cleveland State University. This next study, Wohlfahrt number 40, is marked Allegro Scherzando with a springing bow, in parentheses, ricochet. In the ricochet, the bow is dropped to the string with some impulse downward and bounces on its own until we shift the balance to the pinky side of the hand to raise the bow off the string. However, we want the horizontal planes to be very clear before we do that. What I mean by the horizontal planes are being able to throw at this plane, this plane, this plane, and this plane. In each of those, however, during the time that the bow is thrown to the string, all of the stroke has to remain horizontal on that plane despite the bounce. That comes from the elbow opening slightly, yeah? But we don't want the arm height to change during that opening or the stroke will become uneven. One way to practice that is to use martelets before anything else. And while we're doing that, I would like to ask you first to grab a pencil and mark the second line of music in the Schirmer edition as bar 6, the third as 11, the fourth as 16, the fifth as 21, the sixth as 26, the seventh line as 31, the eighth as 36, the ninth line down as 41, the 10th as 46, the 11th as 52, and the 12th as 58. And here's why. I'd like to make a note that the first phrase ends the second half of bar 8. The next phrase ends the second half of bar 20. The next phrase, or at least the halfway point, ends at second half of bar 28. The next phrase begins the second half of bar 32. The next phrase begins the second half of bar 39. And the next phrase begins the second half of bar 47 into 48. The music from the second half of bar 55 to the end is a little codetta of descending arpeggios. Having that concept will help us to shape it and to know when to think of a new idea. Because many times in these arpeggios, in order for them to have a nice musical shape, it's better if there's more impetus on the first grouping of an arpeggio that's descending than on the subsequent notes, so that we'd have more energy here, less, more. More, less. It feels almost identical to that to play it with the ricochets, as long as there's a lift after this and a drop. So once that's learned and we have those shapes and those phrases, the only thing else to make a note of is to start each new idea strong and to have a crescendo up in bar 38 into the downbeat of 39 and then a diminuendo, so that the second half really sounds new when we accent that high B, the upbeat to bar 40. Hopefully this will make sense to you. At the end of the study, in the last 3 bars, this figure going up to the D, I try to really think of that crescendoing, not very end. So that leaves us with this basic idea. So again, you want to feel each ricochet and the subsequent up bow as one gesture. If you feel that it starts to get muddy or unclear, try dropping it from a little higher. You might be too close to the string. If you start feeling like it's choppy and slowing you down, you might be dropping it from too far. Again, the impulses can be thought of this way and in the wrists. Same kind of principle. In recitative and scherzo caprice. So I hope that this helps you to some degree. Make sure that these springs aren't locked, that all of the fingers have not too hard a grasp on the bow, but rather a flexible hold. Keeping the thumb somewhat bent is good. And feel the ability, even though this may contradict itself slightly in your mind, to pull on down bows and push on up bows, but also to add, this is what might feel like a contradiction, to add the throwing of the bow out of the hand and the picking of the bow up into the hand. See, I think that's pretty much it. The only other thing I would bring up is that at bar, the upbeat to bar 21 could be fingered the same way as the opening, but in second position. Just like we have this here. We can do that same fingering here, instead of crossing 3 strings. And that makes it a little simpler for the bow arm. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. Please like, subscribe, and share with friends. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments below, and I'll be happy to try to answer them when I'm able. Thanks.